Hello, my name is Willow, and today I'll be giving a presentation on my project for Info 4709 Data Visualization. Let's discuss my motivation for trying to solve this problem. When I was younger, I worked my first job as a swim instructor. It was my duty to keep a group of young children who could not swim alive, and also to teach them how to swim. I worked in a public pool under the scorching Texas sun. I was paid $7.25 an hour for my labor. I remember thinking to myself, how could anyone possibly have a good life making so little money? My understanding at the start of this project was that people use money to do things like buy health insurance, go to college, and other things that improve their quality of life. Most people get their money from working. It makes logical sense to me that paying people more will lead to higher rates of insurance coverage and college education. Sadly, I did not have a way to visualize this, which is what my project aims to do. For this semester's final project, I have decided to focus on the following problem. I do not have a way to visualize how minimum wage is connected to quality of life. The first thing I did was read about how minimum wage affects people's lives. I read about how changes in minimum wage affected Malaysian hotel workers. I read about how being paid sub-minimum wage affected disabled workers, and many other topics. I then went to the data gathering stage. I found that the US Census had a lot of freely available and well-organized data. I organized the data into a spreadsheet, focusing on each state's minimum wage, their high school graduation rate, their bachelor's degree rate, their advanced degree rate, their median wage, their party affiliation, their health care coverage, and their average lifespan. The idea behind these data points was simple. All of these contribute to quality of life. Once I had my spreadsheet, I used Power BI to build a dashboard filled with visualizations that automatically update when new data is entered into the spreadsheet, which will allow users to look at specific states and other metrics. Power BI is a very versatile piece of software and is excellent at creating interactive dashboards. My system is built so that it can be updated with new data each year as new census data gets published. Each dashboard displays one or more graphs that have different purposes. First has 4 visualizations that compare various quality of life metrics to minimum wage. The second was used to compare z-scores of data to raw data in terms of display. The third shows how democratic states are more likely to have a higher minimum wage. The fourth is a chaotic line graph that allows the user to find trends and outliers in the data. The final page is a visualization that shows how minimum wage is correlated to median wage. The fun part about all of these dashboard pages is they all update automatically as Power BI reads a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet automatically transforms the data via formulas. Using these visualizations, I found that almost every single quality of life metric increases as minimum wage increases. This was not a surprise to me, but it definitely was satisfying to see laid out so clearly in graphical form. I found the chaotic graph with all of my data on it to be particularly interesting, as it has a lot of oddities to look at and a ton of character. I also noted that all of these metrics are also correlated with a democratic population, which was interesting as well. In the future, I would like to do a few key things. Firstly, I want to compile as much data as possible from previous years in order to see how these things have differed or stayed the same throughout time. I would love to have a bit of software that runs once a year to update my spreadsheet with new data from the US Census, as gathering it by hand is quite tedious. I would also love to add more columns to my spreadsheet. Categories like number of children, marriage rates, and others would be fascinating to compare to minimum wage. The most important thing I would like to do in future work is try to figure out why these things are correlated. Showing two things are connected is fun, but figuring out the root cause can allow for action to take place. Thank you all so much for listening to my presentation about quality of life and minimum wage. It was a fun and interesting project, and I'm excited to see what the future will hold for it.